In this video, I'll be going over Visual Query Builder, which is flowframe's way of querying data without writing SQL code. To begin, I'll start by bringing my data onto the canvas. And having a quick overview. To use the Visual Query canvas, switch from code to visual. And here we have three major changes. We have the step-by-step guided query builder, we have the advanced, and we have a button to preview the auto-generated SQL code. And we also have the button to expand the editor that works for both the code and the visual. Running a very quick search using the advanced, using the step-by-step query builder, shows we have the data source, and by default, it is the source of the data used to make the query node. Then we have the same data, and the source of the data determines the other source of data that shows in the data source. Since this is a spreadsheet data, we only have other spreadsheet data as options to change in the data source section. And it shows a number of columns, so you can be sure you're using the right data. Each section can be collapsed by clicking the header, adding a second query component to select the columns. Here I can choose to pick 3 columns, and I can close that header and close the auto-generated second header. If I run this query, I can see that we have just 3 columns selected. We select columns, and using the expanded viewer, I can run this search again. For the select columns, I can choose to pick selected columns, or I can choose select all columns. And each column has the data type on the right to help in the selection process. It automatically comes with the column aggregate section. Here you can choose to aggregate numerical columns and also choose to use alias. You can also delete selected columns here, and this automatically updates the previous section. I'll be aggregating the sales column, and I'll be doing a sum and using the alias total sales. Aggregating a column automatically pops up the group by section, and you don't need to make any changes here. Adding a second query component to filter using the having clause. This filters aggregated columns, and I can add a new filter by pressing the plus, and it automatically selects the aggregated column, and I'll filter for sales that's greater than or equals to 1000, and I close that section. Adding another query component to sort based on a specific column. Sort can be in ascending or descending order, and you can add another column to sort with. Columns are sorted based on priority, and to change the order of priority, I can use the arrow buttons to move up or move down, and I can also choose to delete a particular column. Adding another query component to limit the results to just 25. Let's change the value here, and I close that section. Now I can close the expanded view and then run the query. Here you can see that the output is limited to just 25 based on the limit function, and only the selected columns are selected. You can also choose to filter based on a specific column, but this only works for the outputs in the result table. Next, for the advanced view, this is similar to the step-by-step, but it has all the selections, it has all the subsections together, and you pop open or close the selection of choice. And for those that changes are not done, like the join, it is empty. You can preview your auto-generated SQL code, and here shows all the codes that would have been written to achieve the same output. You can also copy the auto-generated SQL code to use later. Another thing to note for Visual Query Builder is that the code and the Visual Query Builder shares the same output table, but run different codes. If I switch to the code and run the query, the output changes because the code has also changed. And if I switch back to the visual and run the query, I have a different output based on the query in the Visual Query Builder. If I paste the auto-generated SQL code and run the query, I have the same output as that generated from the Visual Query Builder. So this has been an overview of flowframe's Visual Query Builder, an alternative to writing SQL code. See you in the next video.